Good evening. I am here to talk to you about two people who could change your life. Two people my mother introduced me to a long time ago. Positive Polly and Negative Nancy. It all started when I was 13. I know you're cringing, 13. Every person that I have ever asked, what was the worst year in your life, has always told me, 13. 13 was the worst year in my life, too. Except for me, 13 actually started when I was 12. That was how old I was when my father and my best friend died within the same week. It was perfect storm conditions that brought on a huge wave of depression, paranoia, anxiety, and anger issues. Then, a few months later, the minute I actually did turn 13, I started to hate my mother. I don't even know why. It was as if someone turned on a "Mom doesn't know anything" switch as soon as I blew out the candles. I see you know the story. All of a sudden, every aspect of my teenage life was put under a Negative Nancy magnifying glass. All of a sudden, everything started to seem so much worse than it really was. I was continually examining each aspect of my being. This harsh scrutiny put me under a world of self-destruction with overeating, resentment towards my mother, and the constant belief that no one could possibly like me. This vicious cycle of negativity and self-criticism drove me to the point of not even being able to acknowledge the good things I did have in my life. At a certain point, I cut myself off from any sort of happiness that could ever come along. I hated myself, yet at the same time, I was so self-absorbed that all I could think of was myself. I told my friends I no longer wanted to continue their friendship. I couldn't imagine anyone wanting to be friends with me. I saw their friendship as pity, and I didn't want their pity. In retrospect, I had enough of my own. Because of my tainted perspective, I could not see any positives, not one thing. I grew to hate everything in life and in myself. Then one day, I decided to check off the planet. I'm not sure why that day in particular. Something in school had made me mad, and on the bus ride home, all I could think of was, why am I here? There is no reason for me to be here. I know I'm going to hell if I kill myself, but at least there, I won't be bothered by anyone or anything, and I can just sit peacefully in my own self-pity. Thankfully, I saved myself before it was too late by calling my mom, and she called poison control. Although I survived that episode, the following 3 days were even worse. My life was still replete with negativity and self-pity, but now my mom watched me like a hawk. At this point, my therapist suggested I go to a psychiatric facility. There, I could get the 24-hour support of professionals. I saw hope in this and agreed to sign myself into the program. I'm still not sure why I went, because in a way, I felt happy being in my depression. It was my lifestyle. I was used to it. When I got to the hospital, I felt like a zebra in Antarctica. There were all sorts of people there for what seemed like much bigger problems than mine. I felt like I was the only sane person there. Or at least closest to sane. Until I met her. Let's call her Polly. It was during recess period in a small gym where you could either throw a ball against a wall or sit on mats and waste an hour of your day. Usually, I occupied that mat and watched her throw the ball. One day, she decided to join me on the mat and asked me the most popular question in the facility. What's your story? She herself looked like a happy individual. I thought, she's been here for a while, yet she's making the most of it. I wanted what she had, and all of my self-pity was not going to get it for me. I opened up to her and told her my story in that hour. That conversation, little does she know, saved my life. She told me a simple philosophy. Things happen to everyone. The difference is how you react to the situation. It always seems worse because it happened to you. There is nothing you can do about it, except just let it go and focus on the good and the future. At that moment, something clicked. Suddenly, my negative Nancy magnifying glass shattered, revealing all of the positives in my life. I had a brother and friends who really did love me, and a mother who did everything she could to keep me alive. I left that place 2 days later. Why? Not the hours on end of therapy, not the anger management classes. It was Polly. Because the therapy she suggested was positive thinking. The bottom line is, do you think God made you for no reason? Do you actually think he put you here to be a constant negative and self-absorbed? No! God made you to be happy, confident, and of use to others. So you might be wondering, how can I apply this age-old advice to my life? It's no miracle, people. Whatever the situation, think of the littlest positive to get you through the hard times in life. Be it the life-altering devastation of losing a loved one, or the momentary irritation of stubbing your pinky toe. Thinking of the littlest blessings can really make a difference. Focus on the simple blessings, like having a roof over your head and food to eat, or the luxury of being able to go to Starbucks with friends, or being able to watch your favorite movie on TV. I guarantee you all, there is always something that is good in your life. That brings me back to the biggest lesson I learned from Polly. When I look back on it now, that ball was just like her attitude. She threw positive energy at the wall and received it back. She grew positive energy in me. You never know where you're going to get help in this world. And for that matter, you never know who you're going to end up helping. That's another thing I learned from her. I learned that the best way to bring good in your life is to get outside of yourself and help someone else. Be of use. That's why you're here. I know, think positive is so cliche, but you have heard what it's done for me. This cliche has taken me to a whole new lifestyle where I see everything in a fresh light. I guess this is what my mother had been trying to tell me with those cutesy nicknames. But for some reason, when Polly said it, I finally got the message. I could choose to focus on the good and the future, or opt to sink deeper into my quagmire of despair and pain. Now that I have tried life both ways, it is more fun to focus on the good rather than dwell on the bad. Surprise, surprise, my mother was right. board are you going to be? A negative Nancy or a positive Polly? Thank you.